Welcome back, people. If you're new to the channel, your first time viewer, welcome. This is an update on the pickup camper, free by the way, to shed conversion. Yes, um, this was actually a pickup camper from a long time ago, from the Yogi Bear Bugs Bunny era, just about. We have the siding temporarily affixed with clamps front and rear. It's matched up perfectly up on top, what will be the plane, the very top of the brand new Raptors, which will be going in. Not only there, but all the way to the front. And with that said, we have a perfect template to now create new specifically cut lumber pieces. And by that, the new, if you can see this, the extension of the plywood to here, and all the structural pieces that will have to go in place to make up the new end cap structure for that. Everything is where it's supposed to be as far as the siding front to rear, so we can actually use this as a template. Although this is still wonky, you can move it up and down. I don't know if you can see that on camera. That doesn't matter, because if you go up all the way, it lines up perfectly with the siding. So fortunately, we'll just have to take this on and off a few times for sealing, painting, and so forth. But I think maybe you might be interested in how we're going to make all the structural pieces for the front piece that has no structure right now. Let's go back inside, shall we? Oh, and I forgot one thing. The last video I was talking about the cordless cutoff wheel, and I mentioned these are getting to be old batteries, and I keep them fully charged. However, I do not leave them on the charger. That is a good way to burn down your house, burn down your garage, because lithium batteries in particular are explosive if they're pushed beyond their limits, including being overcharged. And I don't know about you, but I would not want to depend on the voltage regulator in here being 100% foolproof. So keep them fully charged occasionally, and then unplug them from the wall socket or whatever you're using to charge up your batteries. So let's go back to the pickup camper's end cap piece. This is it. I don't know if you can see all the drawings where we need to be. This piece right here is actually going to be cut out. See where my finger's at? This whole piece is going to cut out, because with plywood, you never want to screw, nail, fasten, or whatever between the layers. And a lot of RVs, then and even now, they do that stupid thing. This was made by Travelcraft, this pickup camper. When it was made, at least they did adhere to some quality standards as far as things you don't do when it comes to fastening. So with that said, although this is technically, this outside line is the siding line, we're going to cut this piece on this line, so we can imagine this 2x4 as a 2x6, okay? And this is going to be our structural piece for our trim molding to screw into, because you're supposed to use hardwood, whether it's meaning straight from the tree, cut, not plywood. I hope that makes sense. So imagine that's our front piece right there. So that means we're going to have to cut right along this line. You see that line? And then this line right here is the top of our 2x6 on the inside. I hope that makes sense. So we'll just go off of this and we'll make our curve section pieces. We're only doing a little bit at a time because that's how we have to do it. But once we get this piece made, we'll put the plywood back on. As you can see, I already drilled one hole for a carriage bolt. It was fixed semi-temporarily, whatever you want to call it. And we'll put this back on. We'll take the new 2x6 piece and it will go right there. It'll butt up right... Wait a second. I think you get it. Anyway, it will butt against new structural pieces. This is a cut 2x4, but okay, imagine this 2x4 is cut at this angle beyond the 2x6. This is a 2x6 already. So this piece right here is going to screw into the 2x6, which is already on board. And this is our end piece right here as far as the outside of the siding. So the siding will come right to here perfectly. Well, not this actual piece of wood. We're not even using a 2x4. I hope that makes sense and gives you an idea of how it does take time, but you have to think it out, draw it out in our case. The most important part, what we're doing right now, to get our perfect measurements, is to have our siding exactly where it needs to be. And that means it has to be perfectly at the top at the back and perfectly at the top at the front at the bunkhouse section. And then we were able to put our plywood on there, affix it, and then start doing our doodads. Our siding, remember, it came right up to here perfectly. It's a little buggered up and all, but we're not going to cut this line out to begin with. When you're not sure about things, it's always good to stay off the line and take into account, it doesn't matter how much you spend on a circular saw, jigsaw, take into account there's always going to be a little slop. And with circular saws in particular, you have to remember they also have a little bit of wobble. They couldn't be super tight because then it would wear out the bearings. It'd be like on your car if the bearings are over tightened. I hope that makes sense. So we know we need to stay away from this line and leave plenty of meat because we can always use this for fine details. So on the circular saw, what we have in particular, it goes a little bit beyond the blade thickness, which is, we'll say, 1/8 of an inch. So we know that when we're cutting, there's going to be an 1/8 inch cut and a little bit of wobble. It doesn't matter how much money you spend, what brand you buy, every circular saw, whether it's on a table or something you can use with your hand, it has to wobble a little bit. Just keep that in mind. The line is your friend. Very much your friend. So, yeah, I think that pretty much explains how we're going to do this. I mean, yeah. So, this is our 2x6 right here. if you imagine it, this is it right here, okay? And this is actually going to be cut out too, up to our 2x6, because we need this for the trim to screw onto. You can't be screwing between the layers of plywood. That is a major no-no. No. And the folks that built this thing, at least they did something right. But if you're thinking, man, I don't know about that. Me and the new wife, or girlfriend, or partner, or whatever, we're thinking about buying this used motorhome, travel trailer, or camper, and now you're ruining our aspirations and blah blah blah. No, it doesn't matter then or now. The RV industry, and regardless of how much you spend, if it's a composite wall or tin and stick construction like this was, and they still do also now, they are not made very well. I mean, there's a lot of competition. Just slap them together, send them out the door, and ship them off to the dealers to keep things afloat, because they've got everyone else to compete with. I mean, and beyond basic plumbing, electrical, and gas fittings, it's a free-for-all. The RV industry doesn't have to abide by any set standards, and their lobbying efforts with every state, even at the federal level, they've shot them down. And if you get a warranty, 2 years at best maybe, and they abide by it and fix some things, well, just say you were lucky, because in general, if you buy a new RV, you're on your own. Because take, for example, there's a YouTube channel, Stapleton42. Him and his girlfriend, they visited the Newell Motor Coach factory in Miami, Oklahoma. They do pronounce it Miami instead of Miami in Oklahoma. And I noticed, because I'm always interested about the details, these are like some of the most expensive motorhomes on the planet. $2.5 million to start. I noticed when they were putting the flooring in, they were using OSB. You would think if you were spending $2.5 million, you would at least get marine grade plywood. Would you not agree? I mean, marine grade plywood, you can use it basically for making furniture, but it's also got much more glue and anti water delamination qualities than your basic decent quality plywood. But they were using OSB, so if you're thinking, well, my RV's not like that, it's brand new. Well, you got taken to the cleaners, and it was made as cheaply as possible, even if it was composite construction, because they don't use the highest quality adhesives and sealants, which would be theoretically automotive and aerospace, meant to absorb the cycles of winter and summer for 20, 30, 40 years easily. And they just don't construct their stuff very well. It's just a fact. But that should not scare you if maybe my series of this conversion process, if you've got a travel trailer or a stick and tin motorhome, partial or all stick and tin, or pickup camper, and repairing it. But just remember, you should do it to the highest level, not the level that they constructed it with, like with staples and a screw here and there. So I mean, like on your corners and stuff, you could fiberglass the ends. Fiberglass, although it's not dirt cheap like it used to be, it's still cheap insurance. And like on the pickup ends, where it picks up, with the jacks, you need to go with some heavy material and treat it with some anti-rot material, or just coat it with fiberglass resin and just put a a thin layer of fiberglass mat on it. But they're not made well to begin with, but you can do some things here and there. And if you bought a used travel trailer, motorhome, or pickup camper, you're likely to encounter rot, whether it's new or older, like this one was. And take, for example, the rubber roofs they use on that is not the same stuff that they use in marinas and amphitheaters. It's nowhere near the same quality. So, and it's just a fact. And guess what? On the ones that use plywood on top, as a walking surface and something for the that rubber latex member to stick to, it's OSB. There you go again, huh? Well, I hate to be the bearer of not so good news, but it's good to be honest. If you're thinking about endeavoring and stuff like this, keep your labor to a high quality and work at your own pace. If you have the means, I mean, the real estate space to do it. If you rush it, unless you're really like a genius, that's implying anyone that's really good with their head and can do great output as far as quality with speed. But just take your time. And the goals today are to get this piece made right here, and we'll maybe make the curb section after we reinstall the plywood. But yeah, I think I articulated the last time, how much is all going to cost. You do things a little bit at a time if you don't have the basic materials all at once. I don't know about you, but I always keep my car full when the tank drops below 3/4 because I do not like the hit of having to fill up. And it's really bad for the fuel pump. Anyway, if you drive around with your car on less than a quarter of a tank, if it has an in-tank fuel filter, because the gasoline actually keeps the fuel pump cool and lubricated. And if it's sucking air occasionally, well, that's why people have to replace their fuel pumps on an irregular basis. That was originally intended by the manufacturer, but it seems like I'm comparing apples and oranges. No, the point of that fuel tank story is, just do it a little bit at a time. Buy a hammer, okay? That's covered. Go to the 99-cent store, the dollar store. Buy yourself a square. They're like $1.25 now, okay? Buy this, 90 square. I think this was like $5 at Lowe's or Home Depot or someplace like that a few years ago. You're going to need one of these. It's plastic. The best ones, it seems like nowadays, are made out of plastic because they don't rust. Now, if you're seriously a burly person working in the construction field, maybe you'll want metal or something. But yeah, and just start doing things, a little bit at a time. If you don't, then the financial hit won't be so hard when you have to, start actually doing it. And on most of the RVs, this tin and stick, the siding is usually put on from the top to the bottom, staple-wise, or bottom to the top. When you remove the trim, you'll see how it goes. It's not that difficult, and get a peekaboo of what you're looking at. If you don't have a sign already through the cabinets, or maybe the ceiling has got some wonkiness to it, and things like that. You can do it. You just think positive, and if you do it right, you'll never have to worry about it ever again. If you do a diligent job of taking on a task like that, and it doesn't matter what gender you are, and getting the job done right. All right. Thank you for watching. I hope my video was instructive. Leave a comment if you choose to, whether it be positive or negative. hit the like button, not like button, and do subscribe and hit the notification bell. So if you want to continue to watch this, you'll be informed. People that have been watching my videos now from the very beginning, I post a video every weekend. It might be a day early, a day late, and if I have some extra stuff like bonus stuff, you'll get more than that as far as a video every weekend. My videos are not scripted, they're not edited, it's in real time. Um, and yeah, so I hope I've been helpful. I've gone a little gung ho as far as carriage bolts and all and my construction, probably. But I want this thing to hold up. I don't want to have to worry about anything, and that's just how I chose to do it. Yeah, you take care, people. Okay, goodbye.